Hi everyone, I'm very excited to introduce the panel that we have today, talking about how we bring connectivity and telecom into financial services. So we'll talk about this industry a little bit, the challenges that it is facing, and how telecom and telecom-as-a-service can actually help her really meet these challenges and grow and provide better solutions for its customers. So with this, I want to introduce my panel. Mario.
Hi, my name is Mario Orfanou. I head up product for Symphony Communications. So we specialize in secure and compliant communications in the industry. I've been part of Symphony for over 10 years now, and in the industry over 35 years delivering technology solutions.
Thank you. Angela.
Hello, everybody. My name is Angela Lim. I'm the Chief Growth Officer at OXIO, and I lead the strategy, basically help our clients expand into new verticals and help transform the way they use connectivity. I've been in this industry for over 25 years.
All right, so I'm Saidi. I'm a Principal Solution Architect in Network Data and AI for AWS, and I help customers with their digital transformation and adopting AWS cloud technologies.
So Mario, you're the financial services expert in this room. Can you talk a little bit about this industry, in the industry, introduce us to and why they need recorded communication to better serve their customers and meet regulation requirements?
Yeah, sure. So at Symphony, actually it goes back to the start of Symphony. So about 10 years ago, there was some major scandals in the industry around LIBOR, where a number of traders were caught colluding to move the market. And a second issue that happened as well was that there was a well-known data vendor was actually caught using internal data to identify news stories. So the industry got together, they created a consortium to try and address the security aspects, which was how come someone was able to look at the communications, and also the compliance aspect, which was how did this group of individuals manage to collude together to effectively move the market. So Symphony was started to particularly address that. So really the challenges for the banks and regulators is to make sure that the industry is operated well, that consumers are protected, and that fraudulent activity is avoided. So the way they do that is effectively by recording communications, both messaging and voice communications, so that from a compliance perspective, they can just double check that everyone is doing what they should be doing and not doing anything that they shouldn't be doing.
So it's mandatory now from a compliance perspective. Okay, and what are the challenges about doing that?
Yeah, so there's lots of challenges that the banks face in trying to record this content. So the biggest one, I would say, is that customers want to talk on the channels that they want to talk on. So you've got, if you have a high net worth individual that says, actually, I'm investing huge amounts of money with you, I want to talk on WhatsApp, the banker is not going to say, no, I can't do that, I want to talk to you on SMS. The guy will just go, I'm going to speak to another banker. These organizations have to provide kind of channels where their customers can speak. Now, the problem with some of those channels is, for things like WhatsApp, the content is actually encrypted. So it's difficult to record encrypted content. So there's this dichotomy of issues whereby on the one side you have institutions that need to record this communication, and on the other side you have communication channels which are encrypted and are not really built for recording. So that's the first challenge. The next challenge is you have the devices. So, you've got Android and iOS. They both have, certain quirks and issues in terms of recording. So, for example, iOS and Apple recently have just taken the UK government to court regarding the UK government's request to be able to monitor communications. So Apple's stance is that you cannot record content on their devices. So that means, well, if my customer is talking to me and I've got a corporate phone that is iOS, how do I record that content? So it means that the only way to do that is you have to be in line into the communication. Then there's kind of multiple challenges around different country regulations, changes in government, which kind of switch the shift between kind of compliance like we're seeing with the Trump administration at the moment, is that they are basically kind of shifting away from compliance recording and more towards security because of various recent hacks. So even recently the FBI issued a warning saying that because SMS was hacked, they're basically recommending that people should not be using SMS because it is open. So there's a huge number of challenges involved in that. And again, even where you've got multinational firms, they're potentially dealing with 50, 60 different vendors in order to try and solve this problem.
Sounds like a really big problem. It's really meeting the customers where they are with the device that they have, the channel they want to use, while meeting compliance and regulation and things that are constantly changing. So you partnered with OXIO, right? Symphony with OXIO in order to help you solve this problem. Angela, can you talk a little bit about how you partner with Symphony to help them solve this big recording communication challenge?
Absolutely. So in OXIO, we provide telecom-as-a-service. So we call it TaaS as well. And you've heard various as-a-service platforms, SaaS. It's intentional to call it telecom-as-a-service or telco-as-a-service. And I'm going to address two of the items that Mario had mentioned. One is the ability to do the recording in various application or medium or channels, right? With telco-as-a-service, TaaS, we have our own core network. With that, it creates the flexibility to do recording in all the channels that enterprise like Symphony or financial services provider like Symphony to have that ability. And two, Mario mentioned about financial services are typically across the globe. And whenever you need a connectivity in one country, it involves managing with an operator, the network operator itself. That also involves managing the telecom regulatory for that particular country. So with TaaS, financial services provider like Symphony only needs to manage or operate with one platform like OXIO. And OXIO in the back end will manage, be it 10 countries with 10 different operators. But it removes the friction and creates a seamless connectivity for clients like Symphony and makes it more feasible, frictionless, and scalable.
Yeah, I would just add with the friction, that is really important because the big challenge that we have is that the way that a lot of recording is done is through a secondary app that sits on the device. Now, the problem with that is that creates friction for the users. Now, working with a scalable platform like OXIO, it means that a bank user can just use their native device and the native features without having to have this separate app or have it. So it's completely native. They just use it. They know they're secure. They know it's compliant. They know they're not going to go to jail for getting to do something. And that's really important in terms of what OXIO can help us in terms of that delivery.
Right. So really compliance as a service, really providing this ability in a very, very seamless way. So talking about scalability and global reach, Ayman, from an AWS perspective, I know the OXIO platform is built all on AWS. Can you talk a little bit about how the AWS cloud really helped them with the vision of global and scale?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So essentially, it's meet your customer where your customer is, and that's the advantage of AWS cloud. So for customers, or essentially your end customer and the users of those end customers, they travel. They travel the world. They work in different countries, different cities. There's different conferences. So how do you meet them where they are? Right? So you need to ensure a certain set of latency, a certain set of quality of service. And with AWS Cloud, we have a global infrastructure that consists of region across multiple countries. We have outposts, we have local zone, and that essentially give you the ability to deploy either the network, but also a component of the connectivity service that you want to give to your customers, closer to the customers. And now, on top of that, right, so the users, they move in different direction in some random patterns sometimes, right? If there is a vacation, if there is a conference, now the demand is much higher. So how do you meet that demand? And in the case of a financial institution, essentially, that demand is not necessarily always one specific city. So it could be a large conference, let's say, in Las Vegas in 1 year, and the next year it could be in London. So you need to meet that demand where it is. And with the AWS Cloud, we help the telco-as-a-service platform from OXIO to take advantage of that benefit.
One of the other benefits that we get from the likes of AWS is the fact there's local rules around data residency as well, which basically says that we can't have, for example, European data in the US, or there could be APAC requirements as well. So having a global platform like AWS allows us to store and run content directly in local locations. So that is a huge benefit for the banking industry, because they can't have that data outside of certain countries.
I want to piggyback on that. TaaS is a cloud-based solution connectivity. And that enables us actually to be multi-country, cross-country, and avoid that latency that you were saying, where we can have, because TaaS connects directly to the tower of the operator, and everything from the tower to the SIM is managed by OXIO, by TaaS. And that can be done without the latency when you're connected locally, and then go across country and still make it happen. And that makes it frictionless for Symphony and enterprise.
Basically getting the globalization, the scalability, but also meeting regulation and data residency needs where needed. Yeah. So with local zone, with outposts, with things that stay in the country where needed, and there is no region. So this is great. Let's go back a little bit to financial service, to the customer experience. And we talked rich, and we talked being global and scale. AI. It's very trendy today. We cannot have a discussion without mentioning AI. But I really think that when it comes to financial services and managing all of this, data that you have, right, from the consumers, you probably have lots of insights. And how do you look at AI in these, overall solutions that you are building with us and better serve your customers?
Where there's no doubt that AI is revolutionizing the banking industry. But it has its challenges. So in terms of where it's hugely useful is around kind of fraud detection, it's around compliance, it's around real-time analytics and such like. And even just kind of giving you one example from a compliance perspective, you may have seen in the kind of the press and videos and things like that of traders with talking on multiple phones and having communications. Now, all those communications have to be recorded. From a compliance perspective, 10% of all those communications have to be listened to. So that means a compliance officer, and it's like, hundreds of thousands of hours of content. So they randomly go into those recordings and listen to that content. Where AI can really help is that we already do this. We can provide a service which effectively transcribes the voice into text, then applies, actually using AWS, will actually then apply an AI on top of that text and identify the communications that are suspect. So a compliance officer can just come in the morning, he, out of his thousands of hours of communications, he just gets a list of the top issues, and those are the ones that they focus on. So it means they can really find the needles in the haystack. Whereas before, they'd be kind of randomly listening to people, kind of organising lunch appointments and things like that. So, so it's much more focused. But the big challenge for AI in banking is really the data privacy piece. With GDPR, you have to kind of get permission from people to be able to say it can be used in AI. And they're really concerned about how their data is, being used, where it's going, where it's residing, because it can cause lots of problems. So, yeah, I don't think so. AI is really just kind of starting from a banking perspective. I think I think as the future, as we go into the future, there'll be more and more use cases that they'll be able to use it for once they get over the data privacy and residency concerns.
Yeah, and I love the example. I think that really allowing to run AI and save so much time of people that like manual work that could be saved and give people time to do more meaningful tasks and let AI really identify the more risky or more problematic cause is amazing. And also when we discuss residency, as we discussed before, on the cloud continuum and the ability to deploy it on locally and globally. So I think there are definitely interesting use cases that will be built. And moving to OXIO now, so you collect also as well as part of the platform, using state-of-the-art technology, you collect lots of data. What is your vision on, using AI to better support this type of use cases like the ones Mario just mentioned?
Sure. Traditionally or historically, I would say historically still, AI is more on, you can find it on customer service, chatbot, or network efficiencies, right? But what the future is, everybody wants, or even services, to be delivered in a smarter way, right? And one of our product in OXIO is called Brain IQ, and that's the biggest differentiator is, in telecom, we have tons of data, and to process it. I'm going to break it down into two categories to it. On the customer side, with data science, having AI built within part of the core itself, it helps build personalization for the customer, for the financial services customers, to meet where they want to be met, right? And on the enterprise side, think about it where Mario mentioned fraud detection and risk management. With AI built within, it enables the enterprises to be able to catch those bad actors based on anomaly behaviors or the way that anomaly activities as well, right? At the end of the day, with all of the data processing capability, it helps for customer like OXIO to meet the customer where they want to be met securely, right? There's a lot of benefits, obviously, to it. One is scalability, because now power of AI and with metadata, you can scale quickly. Secondly, the personalization of it, that helps you monetize and grow the business. And third, have it securely, you build trust. Actually, if you think about it, it's a flywheel benefit on all of those three.
As Angela mentioned, lots of data, right,
Yep.
on the network, obviously, but also how you actually translate it into a much better customer experience, personalization. How do you view this from the AWS side and how you're helping?
No, absolutely. So I'll speak a little bit about the two use cases, or specifically, let's say, the WhatsApp use case. And we'll talk about the AI continuum and essentially how AWS can help with various AWS AI services. So if you look at essentially WhatsApp use case, it could be that some regulatory will allow you to use WhatsApp in one country, but will not allow you in another country. So what does it mean is there's a concept of profiling. So how do you provide a connectivity profile based on the country that a user is moving? So OXIO would be a global network with users that are traveling. That could be in one city versus another city, in one state versus another state in the US. It could be in one country versus another country. So that connectivity profile, that experience, need to evolve. So AI will help you with these type of experience. So with AWS services, we have AWS SageMaker, which allow you to do some machine learning model to design, develop, train, and deploy those models. And that helps the like of OXIO and Symphony. And if I may use another use case, because I like the WhatsApp idea. It's just kind of like a little bit interesting here, because the advantage and kind of the value proposition that is brought here is the network data, and now the data that is ultimately the financial institution data. Because you don't have all the vector of information into the network because of the various regulatory concept, encryption, et cetera, but you also have the financial data. And now, when you start combining those, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So, for example, you spoke about the individual case who someone was sharing trading information. So those trading information you may not find from the telco side, but if you see, for example, that there was a usage on that connectivity profile of WhatsApp toward a certain set of numbers, you have financial data, you can correlate the financial data with the network data to start seeing for potential fraud cases. And these are advanced fraud cases that, in my opinion, are just fantastic, and that's why we're excited actually with the partnership and the work that you guys are doing.
Discussing agentic AI.
Yeah, it's fun because this is really bringing
big, like all these agents,
two worlds that are
of
always
data and absolutely
two separate worlds brought together, and that's magic. So
very
awesome.
inspiring. So with this, I just want to, hear a little bit about the future. We talked a little bit about financial services, but I know the opportunity with telco-as-a-service goes way beyond financial services. So Angela, do you want to talk a little bit about, how do you see your platform evolve into additional, other industries, other use cases, serving even more customers and industries?
If you think about technology, the evolution of technology, it is transforming in every industry, any verticals, right? From the telecom side with OXIO and telecom-as-a-service, that the way I look at it is remove the limitation that traditionally comes with telecom, with the regulatory and the boundaries. When I say boundaries and limit, it's not only geography, it's also the depth, right, of enabling functionality. So that's how I see the future, making it seamless, frictionless for both the end user, the customer, and as well as the services providers. So I see as, especially with OXIO, enabling the limitless connectivity with cloud-based and going cross-country, making it easy to scale and to grow the business and meet where the customer wants to be met.
Any closing remarks from your side? No?
Yeah, I guess from outside of financial services, I would say from kind of predictions, I would say SMS is on its last legs, to be honest. And part of the reason is, again, with the, multiple reasons. So one is the security aspects. It's all unencrypted. It's been hacked multiple times. The second issue is, as AI becomes more prevalent, you need to have kind of messaging solutions that are more interactive and cater for different workflows. So SMS doesn't really give you that interactivity of being able to have buttons and kind of, workflows and have a proper chat conversation with a bot and or with AI. So and that's where platforms like WhatsApp, for example, are really going to kind of take that kind of business away. So that's my prediction. SMS is probably only got a few years left before it's kind of completely overtaken by the likes of RCS, WhatsApp, iMessage, etc.
I would plus one, please.
So I think one index on one thing, right? So we're moving away from connectivity service. They're essentially connectivity experience. And for me, the future, and maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, what I want us to see is, what are those experiences? Let's see and let's work with we're essentially the end customer. Actually, the end customer will tell us. We're moving into a digital experience world, and that's the exciting. So I'm really curious to see how this will evolve, especially in 26, 27, and start to seeing those experiences for the financial industry, but also for the various others industry that OXIO is working with.
I love it. Digital connectivity experience. This was a fascinating panel. Thank you very much. Really speaking about bringing connectivity into financial services and really helping, meeting the customers through different channels, through different devices in a very scalable and robust way. So thank you so much for joining me today, Mario, Angela, Ayman.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.